Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Microsoft has an Xbox DRM problem. DRM, Digital Rights Management, and it needs to change now. So for the fourth consecutive day, users on Xbox, including myself, have been unable to access games that they actually purchased, regardless as to whether that content is digital or a boxed, packaged Blu-ray disc version of a game. Unfortunately, Xbox Series X and Xbox consoles in general are about as useful as a door stopper without an online internet connection. Even if you set the system to home or go offline in the system settings menu, Xbox insists that you do not own the game, even though the disc is right there, inserted into the Xbox Blu-ray drive. Now, the whole idea of buying a disc version of a console is that you would expect to be able to play the games you purchased, particularly the single-player campaign-driven games that do not depend on internet access. Well, the game that is not an online multiplayer component, well, you'd expect to be able to play a disc-based version offline at the very least, but no. When there are back-end server issues over at Microsoft, Xbox does not seem to be able to detect the difference between the game you purchase from a game you access via the Xbox Game Pass subscription service. Now, what makes the issue even more cloudy, no pun intended, is Xbox games, particularly Xbox Series X and S versions, are not even on the Blu-ray disc, often requiring a full game download via Microsoft's smart delivery technology, which isn't so smart when you factor in you have to wait sometimes hours just to download that specific version of the game to take advantage of the extra power of your Series X, for instance. Now, Sony's PS5 games have the full game on the disc. Only day one patches and updates are required to play the best build of the game, but in most cases PlayStation games ship on disc, still accessible without an internet connection. You'll just have to play the build of the game that was printed on the disc, which isn't often the best version. So we are on day 4 of the Xbox outage, and the mainstream media really have began to take notice. One site in particular, metro.co.uk, has weighed in on the issue, reporting that a recent spate of Xbox outages has turned the console into a paperweight and highlighted the issue with Microsoft's DRM policy. Ever since last Friday, May 6th, Xbox owners have been experiencing frequent outages in online services, outages that have caused more problems than just being able to play online. Aside from being unable to purchase any new games, Xbox owners also couldn't access their existing libraries of paid purchased games. Xbox One physical games seem unaffected, but no one was able to play anything via cloud gaming or even ordinary digital games purchased to own and keep. The users have also reported that, bizarrely, disc-based games will not play either. Now, despite the official Xbox support Twitter account insisting the problem had been solved, many people are still affected globally. Now, being unable to play cloud streamed games is certainly one thing, but not getting, to be able to play a disc or digital game that you already paid for really doesn't sit well with me or anyone, especially as many single player games that don't have any online features are also affected. Microsoft has yet to explain what the source of the problem is, only that as far as they're concerned, it's now fixed. But users in Europe should no longer be encountering errors when attempting to launch games and start cloud gaming sessions. Thank you for all your reports and sticking with us, reads the most recent Twitter post from Xbox support. Unfortunately, little has changed. The Xbox support website also states that all services are currently up and running. Many have responded with claims that the issues have not been fixed for them, not just because of locations of outside of Europe like North America, but also within the UK and France. Some have said they can't access apps either, such as YouTube, effectively turning their console into a useless paperweight, essentially a useless brick. Others, however, seem to have no issues or have found workarounds that they really shouldn't have to go jumping through hoops just to play a game, but they've managed to find workarounds that have got their console working again. But the average user is not going to have this knowledge, and why should they scour Google to play something? What the hell? So, the entire situation highlights a concerning issue with Microsoft's DRM policy. Whenever you launch a game, it requires an internet connection to check for a license, whether you own it or not, which also will allow access to the game. This is something that PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 does not have an issue with. None of the PlayStation consoles have this issue. Now, some are hopeful that this will force Microsoft to make a meaningful change to its policy, which is anti-consumer. Let's be honest, you pay for something, you can't access it. Anti-consumer, or at the very least make it less restrictive. It probably won't though, not without a lot more fan outrage. But it is nice to see prominent Xbox personalities have weighed in on this issue while others seem to be making excuses for Xbox. Take Paris Lily. The host of last year's showcase, Xbox Extra, even tweeted, and I quote, "The Xbox outages have made it clear that something needs to change with their DRM policy. Games that are downloaded to my console should have a window to be offline and playable without checking in. Hopefully we get some clarity and a solution to avoid this issue again." In fact, I would argue that we all need to highlight this issue, whether you are an Xbox user or not. Yes, PlayStation and Nintendo gamers, I'm talking to you. Every console gamer, whether you play on Xbox or not, should petition Microsoft to fix its DRM issue regarding games you actually paid for and the right to access whether you are online or offline. Things must change, because if we let this fly, make no mistake, it'll creep into all console platforms eventually. How is it that you can purchase a boxed or digital version of a game that you cannot play for 4 days straight because Microsoft's DRM riddled Xbox consoles treats everyone as if they are signed up to the Game Pass subscription service when outage or server issues arise? Microsoft have done a lot of things right this generation, but this is clearly an anti-consumer policy. In fact, it's more than an outage. It's outrageous. Though what say you? Let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, as that brings us to the end of the video. Subscribe for more gaming news, rumor and speculation. Hit the like button and yes, the notification bell so we don't miss each other. And you can help Foxy Games UK reach more gamers, so feel free to share the video. You may also want to consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon, because we're like family now, so thank you. You can find a link in this video's description. But that concludes our time together today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Until next time, play games, not corporations.